Welcome to the June meeting of the Texas Balance of State Continuum of Care Board. My name is Eric Samuels. I am the Director of Continuum of Care Programs for the Texas Balance of State Continuum of Care. So today we are going to start with introductions and get into CoC participation. And I will give an update on some scheduling changes we are proposing and that we will like to have a vote on from the governance committee. Then I'll give an update on what should be, it should read the fiscal year 2015 CoC competition on your agenda. Then Mary, who is joining us, will talk about what is a local homeless coalition, and we'll discuss that. And we'll vote on the final standards for local homeless coalitions. Then we will discuss our first draft of the process for selecting CoC board members and hopefully get some discussion from you on that. And then finally, we'll wrap up with preparing for the July meeting. And we will leave time for any questions you might have or anything that you would like to comment on so that everyone joining us can listen in. So let me start with just a few housekeeping items. Many of you have joined us on these calls in the past, and you know how to use GoToWebinar, but for those of you who have not, you should become familiar with the GoToWebinar application that should be showing on your screen. On it, you can mute yourself, you can type in a question to us, and you can access 2 handouts that we have made available. So please utilize those functions to the best of your ability. And if you need to ask a question, I would advise for now typing that question in or typing in a request to for us to unmute you so you can ask the question over your mic. We actually like to hear from you, so if you can do that, that's what I would prefer, you asking the question over the mic, but please feel free to type in your question if you would rather do that. So before I get into who is on the call from outside of our office today, I want to go over who is joining us from in our office and, well, also outside of our office, but with Texas Homeless Network. And I'm just going to ask them to say hi really fast. For everyone else, I'm not going to go through the list. A couple of meetings ago, we stopped going through the entire list of attendees because it took so long. But I will show you a map of where people what people have registered for this meeting and where they are in the state. And then I will I will take attendance of our governance committee to make sure that we have enough folks so that we can vote. And then we'll get into the meat of the meeting here. So I'm going to go ahead and start introducing our staff, and I'll just ask them to say hi. So joining us in the office from down the hall, and the person who assists us in many ways with the Texas Balance of State, and as well as here at THN with our other activities, is Craig Fierro. Can you say hi, Craig? I think he may still be muted, so we'll go ahead and move on. Craig is joining us. Mary Dotson is also joining us, and you will be hearing more from her later, but can you say hello, Mary? Okay. You know what? I think...
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I apologize. I'm trying to get my speaker to work and had a little technical difficulties, but yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you for joining us, Mary. And then also Sophia is joining us, and I think she may be in the Lubbock airport. I'm not sure. Can you say hi, Sophia? And it looks like you're still muted, Sophia. Okay. Unfortunately, her mic is broken. But all three folks are joining us, one from out of the office, and I thank you all for joining us. I am going to go ahead and show you the list of people who have registered. We did have a lot of people register. I think at last count it was 51, so that's really good. Let me just show you a list. Now, this is a list of the folks who registered. Hopefully you see your name on there if you did register. Oftentimes there will be a pretty big number of people who register. It feels a little bit when it comes time for those who actually attend. Although I will say there are 40 of you on the call right now outside of TH and staff, so we do have a pretty good number. Now this is just a list of registrants. At the end of this meeting, we will run a report for attendees, and that will be the official attendance record for this month's meeting. And I will send that out so you make sure to see your name on it. As I've said in the past, if you are joining us and for whatever reason your name's not showing up either on my application, my GoToWebinar application, or it doesn't show up in the report, or you don't think it will, please type in and let us know that you're here, or unmute yourself and go ahead and let us know that you're here if you can do that. If not, email me directly after this, because I do not want to miss anybody who is attending. Okay, so that is the list of registrants, and here is a list of the folks that, or here's a map, here's where people are joining us from. So you can see we have people joining us from, well, all over the state, and this map has a nice little feature. It shows the people, how far they are away from Austin. So you can see if we click on Jesse Elizondo, he's 183 miles away in Corpus Christi. So we have people in Corpus, we have people down in the valley, we have people up in Lubbock. And I will say the award for furthest away from Austin goes to, and I don't know if he's on the call, but Chad Wheeler in Lubbock, 5 miles away. Everyone, this map so you can see who all joined us. Appreciate it. Just know that if you, I created the map. So actually, let me amend what I said earlier. I will send you the attendance report, those who actually attended, and then the map I send you will be the map of people who actually attended. So if you're on this call, you'll see your city and at least your last name on that map. So thank you all for joining us. Now we need to see if we have the members of the Texas Balance of State Governance Committee on hand. So I'm going to actually unmute them as we take a roll call. So let's see, is Christina Folsom with us? Can you say? Okay, thank you, Christina. You can mute yourself if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, because we'll be asking for you all to take a vote. Carol Gresham, I'm looking for your name, Carol. I see you. I want to make sure you can talk.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, and you can mute on your end.
Okay.
And then Kelly Stallings. Let's see if you're, I think maybe Kelly said she could not join us if I remember right. No, I did not remember right.
Not here.
Thanks, Kelly. Okay, Sandra Moore. And I see Sandra here from Matagorda County.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, thank you, Sandra. And Jennifer Laurent. Let's see. Wow, we have everybody on. We go ahead, Jennifer.
Oh, you can tell me.
I'm here.
Thanks for joining us, Jennifer. And finally, let's see if Tracy Sepulveda is the last CoC Governance Committee member. You here? I'm sorry, Tracy. Are you doing this?
Stepped out of the room for a minute.
Okay.
With Elena.
So this is Alina for Tracy, but Tracy will be here to vote. So you can mute yourself
Yes.
on your end, all of you. I'm not muting you from this end. Okay, thank you very much. So we definitely have enough folks to vote. So we'll go ahead and indicate that everyone is here. Okay. So the first thing we need to look at is the proposed changes to our meeting schedule. Okay, I am going to pull up the meeting schedule we have up on our website right now, and the one that we went over. I believe we last updated it for whatever reason, but it's almost there. Okay. So there really is just a few minor changes. We were looking at the schedule, trying to plan out the rest of the year, and we noticed that we probably should change a few things. And let me start at the bottom here first. We had listed December as an open month, no meeting, but there are a lot of things to accomplish. There are a lot of things that we probably will need to vote on, or at least one or two things that we'll need to vote on during that month. So we decided that we needed to hold a meeting in December and change the schedule. So our proposal is to update the schedule by adding a December meeting, December 16th, and I'll show you the proposed schedule in just 1 minute. And that is just to ensure that we're able to do all the business we need to do as a CoC. The only other change is that we need to indicate the change in our CoC makeup starting in September, because our project year, our 2014-15 project year, ends at the end of August. So we need to update really just the name of this from CoC board to RPG. So the proposed meeting schedule will look like that. So I'm going to open up the proposed and updated meeting schedule. And I need to change this. I'm sorry. Let me change this really fast. So now the December meeting is added, and we have indicated the change in CoC makeup starting in, I'm sorry, it should be starting in September. So I'll just put that there. Okay, so do we have any questions about these changes, any problems or comments about this? And any of our governance committee members, if you want to, you could just unmute yourself and ask. Otherwise, everyone else should type in and just let me know whether you want me to unmute you or just type your question or comment in.
Eric, this is Mary.
Hey, Mary.
On the RPG, I think I had waited to change the name of that meeting until after we had the new board member election on October 14th. So although the new operating year does start September 1st, our new board will be elected at the Kingston Conference in October.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So everyone, basically what Mary just informed me of is that the format we had in the beginning was correct, so you didn't need to watch me make these changes. This is the updated meeting schedule, and we do start operating as the RPG after, of course, after we vote in our RPG members and our board, new board members in October. So thank you for that clarification and that correction. Okay, well, if there are no other comments, I'm going to go ahead and, since I still can as a governance committee member, I'm going to ask the governance committee to consider this change, and I will move that we add December 16th to this 2015 meeting schedule and identify the months of November and December as an RPG meeting. So I would like for us to take a vote on that. Let me ask.
I'll go ahead and move on your statement. This is Christina.
Thank you. So I think we should go ahead and vote. And you know what? I will start with Carol Gresham. How do you vote? And the vote is whether or not to approve the additional month. Carol, do you?
I vote for that to
Okay.
approve the change.
And next is Christina.
Yes.
Okay. Let me work down the list here. Jennifer, how would you like to vote?
Yes, please.
Okay. Kelly.
Yes.
And Sandra.
Yes.
And finally Tracy, if you're back. Oh, Tracy's typing in yes. So we do have a unanimous decision on this, so we will make that change. We will put the, and I'm sorry, I vote yes too. We will put this up on our website, and just like with the other handouts, we will send this to you once we put together the notes for this meeting. So thank you all for participating in that. And we were going to have Sophia talk about some of the results from the VI SPDAT, but I don't think that the mic will be working for us today on that, so we may have to do that next month. Sophia, you can type in if that is correct. So instead, I thought that I could give you a really quick update on the fiscal year 2015 CoC competition. Seems like every month I keep giving you an update and also keep telling you that we expect HUD to release that grant anytime. And it keeps getting delayed. But I do have a little bit more information in that area as of yesterday. So I can share with you what we know. So yesterday we were sent an email by HUD that ask COCs to review the registration and HUD's determination of each COC's registration. And the due date for that is July 8th. So because that was sent to us and we were informed of that due date, we do know that the CoC competition will not be open until at least after that. So that's as much detail as I can give you, but we know that it's very likely that HUD will not release the NOFA for the 2015 competition until around mid-July. So if you are an agency that works in that, you should plan accordingly. And what we also do know from the registration is that they agreed with everything we had submitted as a COC. So they agreed with the geographic area that we said we were covering, and that's for 216 counties. HUD also agreed with us that our grantees have an annual renewal demand. So the amount of funding that they expect to receive in renewal for the coming year in a total of nearly $7.6 million. And finally, that HUD agrees that our maximum COC planning grant amount can be $1,041,000, or I'm sorry, $1,041,000. So everything that we submitted back on May 15th, HUD did agree with in their determination. So we will submit that and move forward with that and await notice for the COC competition to be opened. So would anyone like to ask any questions about that or add to that?
We didn't even apply for that one, as far as I know.
I thought our grant came through them.
It do, but they talking about this.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to mute everybody because I'm getting some feedback. Sorry, y'all. Okay. And just hold on with me. I'm getting some. Okay. I was just getting some other chat messages in there. I wanted to make sure we weren't missing anything. It looks like there are no questions about this. So I'm going to move on and get into what is a local homeless coalition discussion. So I am going to unmute you, Mary. You're unmuted.
Great. I did have a comment actually on the funding. The planning grant amount that we are allowed to apply for in this next round is over $1 million. Our current grant amount was limited to $250,000. And so that's 4 times the amount of what we're currently getting. And so I really hope that we're going to be able to receive all of that with a great application and then be able to provide even more services to all of you.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up, Mary. I don't know why I just glossed over that. That is very important. We feel like there's not enough of us to spread around and help you as our COC members in the way we need to. With that additional funding, hopefully we can start to better meet that need. And we're excited about that. So that is very important to point out. So thank you for stopping us there and pointing that out, Mary. So Mary's going to get into the discussion on what is a local homeless coalition. And I want to just start by thanking everyone who participated in the surveys that we sent out regarding the defining parameters for the local homeless coalition. We received a pretty good response rate. We had, I think, over 60 responses and very honest responses. So we do appreciate that. We can tell that you took it very seriously, and we have provided those results to you in the handouts function on the GoToWebinar app. So hopefully you all can find those along with the agenda in that section of the GoToWebinar. I'm sorry, the GoToWebinar app or GoToWebinar application that should be on your screen. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this back over to Mary, and I will hand over the screen to you, Mary, when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. And you should have it now.
All right. So here we go. I wanted to first show you a map of our local homeless coalitions. As we're today voting on a description of local homeless coalitions, I thought it would be important for you to know which ones currently exist. I haven't gotten as far on this as we had hoped, but I will tell you that I've heard back from a lot of people who are representing these coalitions on this map, and we've got some good coverage going on out there. There are a few in red, I'm sorry that I haven't even contacted you yet, but you can see we've got a lot of different colors representing different homeless coalitions across our community. Right now, the maximum we think we have is 28. So if all of those are still currently operating, that's 28 locations around the state that we are currently having local homeless coalitions in. Obviously, that's not every community, but you know, we've got some work to do, particularly here in this Rio Grande Valley area and in the Panhandle area. And all the counties in gray, just a reminder that those are not balance of state counties. So we won't be doing any of our BOS work in those counties. And shout out to all of you local homeless coalition people on the line. Thank you for participating. Okay, so here is a contact list of folks that we have as a draft that I sent emails to most of you last week, and I've heard back from those of you indicated in green. What we want to do is make sure that we've got the name of your coalition correct, the major cities that are in your coalition, the major counties you cover, or the counties that you cover, who your current contact person is, and then if your coalition has a website, which a number of you do. Some have a Facebook page, others an actual website. And thanks for those, because when we look at those, we can better keep up with what you're doing out in your local community. So for those of you who have not yet written me back, I
All right, everyone, I think we're back. I'm sorry, our internet just went out. Hopefully you can hear me. Someone let me know if you can.
I can hear you, Eric.
Okay. And so can the folks out there. So you were, actually, you know what? If you don't mind going back to the map, and I hate to ask
Okay.
you to start over, but there was a question about why there are counties in gray and what that means. So maybe you could go back there and then start over.
Sure. I have pulled the map back up. I will say that the counties in gray are those that are in a different continuum of care. So a continuum of care that is not the balance of state continuum of care. So our coverage area does not include those counties in gray. All the counties that are in the balance of state on this map are either white, meaning we don't know about a coalition that's meeting in for that county, or in a color with a label that shows the name of the group that is the local homeless coalition.
So Mary, let me interject. I'm sorry, your map is not showing.
Oh, really? Okay. Hold on. I wonder if I got knocked
Okay,
off the webinar.
I'm sorry. It's apparently not just showing. It's just not showing for me. So
Oh,
sorry about that.
I'm sorry. Wow, we're having real technical difficulties today. Okay, so yes, I was saying that represented on the map are about 28 local homeless coalitions, each one having their own color and their label. And I've been communicating with the leaders that are currently, or the latest that we have for those homeless coalitions, to get the most recent update about coverage area, the counties that are covered, and the major cities in those counties that are covered. And if you have a website, so you'll see we do have a lot of space here in the Panhandle that doesn't have a coalition meeting, and in far west Texas, and a large portion of the Rio Grande Valley. So those are some areas that we're going to be reaching out to specifically to connect with some folks there and see if we can be of assistance in getting coalitions developed and moving. All right, so let me show you the contact list. Again, I had sent information to the contacts that we had on file, and we're getting updated. So the people who've responded so far, their information is highlighted in green. And you'll see again, we have about 28 groups represented, and a number of them do have either a Facebook page or their own website. So that's very helpful for us to be able to keep up with what you're doing. And you might see yours in there. And I had not caught early on the fact that we had on the map, but not on the contact list, Matagorda Coalition, Mount Pleasant, and Southeast Texas. So I will be contacting the three of you very, very soon. So that's our current state, map-wise and contact-wise, for local homeless coalitions. And we wanted to go ahead and update those right now because as the CoC Governance Committee is considering approving the description of a local homeless coalition today, we wanted to just kind of give you an idea of where things stand right now in terms of coalitions. So let's move to this chart. I know this is very tiny, but I wanted to show you in this size what we're talking about here. These are, because I haven't heard back from everyone yet, but so about 28 groups here on the local level who will be able to have a representative to the piece of our governance structure for the CoC called the Representative Planning Group, which is this box right here. Today, you will be able to have a representative to the Representative Planning Group. So we thought this chart was just a good way to see how on your local level your coalition is feeding into the overall CoC structure. And is that clear for everyone? Does anyone have questions about that piece of it? We wanted to, again, kind of diagram out that direct connection that's already happening, but we may just, not all of us might be aware of how the CoC pulls from and relies on the local homeless coalitions. Any questions? Or Eric, are you ready to move on to the description that I will do?
We can go ahead and move on. Everyone, please feel free to type in your questions or tell me to unmute you. But no questions so far.
Okay, great. So this is the description that we've drafted of a local homeless coalition, and if you've been with us the past few months on our phone calls, this will look very familiar to you. What we've done, however, is taken this out of draft form and put it in a final form for the vote based on the input that we got from local homeless coalition members at the April meeting, the surveys responses that you guys just sent us in within the past week, and some other documents that we had already created, for example, the memo to homeless coalitions regarding coordinated access transition teams. So let me walk you through this. Again, we're calling it a description of a local homeless coalition. And the items that are highlighted in yellow are the ones that are being recommended as requirements for local homeless coalitions. And so if the LHCs or local homeless coalitions meet all the requirements in yellow, they are then allowed to have a representative on the CoC's representative planning group, or RPG, that box on the org chart that I just showed you. And very important, all the other components in this description that are not in yellow are suggestions from our THN staff as the BOS CoC lead agency. And we've gotten those suggestions from a variety of places, specifically other CoCs, governance charters, other balance of state CoCs input into our description, and comments that you all have given us individually. So again, the only requirements are in yellow. Everything else is suggestions. All right, so the description of a local homeless coalition in general is a group of people who meet regularly to plan and coordinate housing and services, strategically use resources, evaluate performance, and conduct education activities to prevent and end homelessness. Probably sounds very familiar to you all who already have a coalition going in your area. So components of a local homeless coalition. Well, first we want to start with the name. And this is an outline that you could apply to your own local homeless coalition. Again, the only thing that the approval today would make a difference for is that the items in yellow would be required officially by the CoC. So name, we would like to have one, but it's not required. Governance, having a representative to the RPG. Again, that certainly we would love for you to do that, but we're not going to require that. The one thing that we will require related to representatives is that if your coalition does in fact choose to have a representative, that you use a process that includes taking a vote at an LHC meeting and recording that vote in the meeting minutes. So you can design any process that you want to select the representative, but we just want to have the requirement that there is an official vote for your representative. And that is, in fact, one of the items that we asked about in the survey. And you'll see over here, 80% of respondents agreed that that should be a requirement for coalitions. Terms of office, roles and responsibilities. Again, we have some suggestions in here, but they're not requirements. In short, for the representatives, we would anticipate that they're going to participate in the RPG meetings and serve as a liaison between the coalition and the CoC. We've got some coalition documents suggested, a mission statement, goals and objectives, strategic plans. Under membership, things to consider, like which entities are represented on your coalition, what is the selection process, and so forth. Same thing for board members or some sort of elected leadership that you might have, and board officers. Again, just ideas if you want to get that formal with your coalition. The next required piece is coordinated access transition teams. And those of you who are already working with Sophia to implement coordinated access, this should look very familiar to you. It was included in our official memo to the local homeless coalitions. And that is simply to establish a coordinated access transition team, or CAT, to manage the local coordinated access system implementation when your community begins implementing. So far, we've got 7 communities that are in the implementation process, but by the end of the year, we anticipate that every community in our CoC will be implementing coordinated access. So again, the requirements are just the same ones that we had already given the coalitions who started implementation. Developing a CAT as a committee of the coalition. They should meet once a month. They should prepare and present items to the larger coalition at their meetings. Recruit a chairperson who is not affiliated with an entry point, and make sure that at every coalition meeting you talk about your coordinated access system. And that was another item that we surveyed people on, and the results showed that 76% of respondents agree that that should be a requirement for coalitions.
And let me interject. I think, well, now most of you probably know that I'm catching up with Sophia some, but she's been working very hard on this and the implementation of coordinated access. And she wrote in to me that she is so happy about that 76%. So these results are great for her to see, and I think for us to see too.
Yes, we had overwhelming positive responses to our survey questions, so thank you all for participating in that. We feel that's a really important way that we can get your input prior to a vote. So thank you very much. And you'll see some other committees. No, I'm sorry. Other things to consider if your coalition might be so fortunate as to have a staff person. If you want to develop an annual work plan and goals, that's something that we on the CoC level are going to do starting for September 1st as part of our memorandum of understanding between the THN board and the CoC board. So you all could do that with your local coalition as well. Just identify what you're going to work on for the upcoming year and the goals that you're going to set for yourself. Annual report is just the kind of the back end of that, where you present a report for what all has been accomplished in the prior year. Some coalitions are lucky enough to have facilities for the coalition, and then you would want to consider your coverage area if you don't have a coverage area right now that you want to stick with, or you think you might want to expand. All right, under the big section of activities or functions of your coalition, the first requirement would be to hold meetings. And we would want to require you to take attendance and keep minutes of the meetings, and then submit that to us in a timely manner. And I know that a lot of you already do that. You send your meeting minutes in to Eric every month, and that really does help us know, again, what's happening in your local area. And then we would want the meetings to be held at least quarterly. That was another item that was in our survey, and you'll see 82% of respondents agreed with all those points. So that was great. And then just some ideas for you if you want to consider format and location. I know some of you have a very large coverage area, so that might come into play more so than those of you with a smaller coverage area. The next required item is plan and coordinate a housing and service system that incorporates TX BOS CoC goals, but is specific to local needs. And that phrase was also a survey question, and 69% of the respondents agreed with that one, and 18% said they didn't have an opinion on that requirement. And so Eric and I were wondering if anybody in the meeting today, or write in or write us later, had some insight into what led them not to have an opinion on that one, because that was a much higher I don't have an opinion on this than any of the other questions. And so that's the required part in yellow. The rest of that description here are just options. We want to make sure you know. Some of the ways that you could carry out that planning and coordination would be to develop a local plan to end homelessness, to develop and regularly update a list of housing and service resources, to evaluate the current and future need for services, and to facilitate communication among stakeholders. And then we've listed some possible stakeholders there. So again, whatever is not in yellow is just a suggestion, and the only part in yellow is that the coalition would be required to plan and coordinate a housing and service system that incorporates the CoC goals. All right, another favorite among you, and this one had the highest number of percent of respondents agreeing with it. 91% agreed that a coalition should be required to conduct an annual point-in-time count, which includes a housing inventory update as well, and following the CoC approved process. And again, in general, that's creating a pit count steering committee, getting volunteers and training them, conducting the count on the designated date and time, and submitting your data to THN. Again, many of you already do that, and Lindsay Marsh, our data coordinator, handles a lot of that on our end, so I know that many of you have worked with Lindsay. And then the housing inventory update, Lindsay and Julian were a big part of that this year, and historically Eric has been a big part of that. And that's really just working with our staff here to make sure that we have a correct accounting of all the shelter and housing available in our CoC. Even if it's not funded by the CoC program or the ESG program, we are required by HUD, and of course we just want to know all of the resources that are out there in our area. So that's a really important part of the point-in-time count. So again, we're thankful 91% of you agree that that should be a requirement. The next section is incorporated into a larger objective about reviewing performance, but the only piece of it that we asked members to comment on in the survey to ensure that all of the projects in your coalition coverage area that are required to use the Homeless Management Information System, or HMIS, that the coalition ensures that those groups are in fact using the HMIS. So 78% of you who responded to the survey agreed that that was a great thing to have as a requirement for local homeless coalitions. Building on that, we have some suggestions. You could go even further to review performance by looking at performance reports from HMIS and HMIS report cards that Casey Henriksen, our data analyst, has created and will be rolling out with all of you. And then reviewing any other performance measures and results that you have, perhaps from your annual goals that you set as a coalition, goals and objectives in your local plan to end homelessness, or any strategies that you have to close any gaps. So again, just some ideas, but the only requirement would be that the coalition help to ensure that all those groups required to use HMIS are using it. And then these last few activities are just suggestions that some of your groups are already doing and some of the other CoCs around the country are doing. For example, conducting homelessness awareness and education activities, developing projects, writing collaborative applications for funding, maintaining a resource and referral guide, informing attendees of agency and community happenings, and asking organizations to submit funding ideas and or requests to the coalition for their endorsement. Again, none of that is required. It's not in yellow. It's just suggestions. So again, the items in yellow are the requirements. So if the governance committee approves this today, all of the local homeless coalitions would need to meet those requirements in order to have a representative on the representative planning group. So that's the description. Does anyone have questions or want clarification on anything?
Yes, and if you do, there have been a few comments written in, and I'll read those in just a second. Just two things. Everyone remember, as you're looking at this, the things that are highlighted are those things that are required. So I know Mary said that throughout her presentation, but that's, I think, important to note. Also, well, I'll get to the comments or the questions. There was a question about whether or not this would be sent out to everyone, and yes, a copy will be sent out to everyone, so you will receive that. There was a comment made. It's not really a question, and I hope that she's okay with me saying it because I think it's important. I will actually not say who it is, just in case they want to remain anonymous. But I think there is some frustration, and this person view is, I guess, putting her frustration into words. There's some frustration that implementing coordinated access in rural areas is extremely difficult. And what they write is, in many rural areas, there is nowhere to do coordinated access. This is frustrating because there are no shelters, at times no services, and basically it's impossible to get anyone, a nonprofit, churches, nonprofit organization, churches, etc., to work together and meet. Still, I think she says she wants to be part of the local homeless coalition and learn if there might be some way that they can finally get together and work on a plan to address homelessness. And I think this is the issue of coordinating services, housing and services, and planning in rural areas is a real issue for the Texas Balance of State, as it is for other balance of state projects across this country. And it is something that we're working on as we go. And I hate to be in that position, but we really are in that position. And that's what a lot of our staff are working on. And it can be frustrating, but we are trying to come up with innovative ways to help you out. And in response to that person's comment, Sophia has already written in, and Sophia's ideas to work with that person and help that person with the data mining and getting that person more data, so Sophia might help her better understand the population and who might best help that population. So we're trying to address your concerns and meet the challenges with you in your areas. And this is something that we will continue to do. But I think voicing that frustration is important because I think it's the frustration that a lot of folks in the Texas Balance of State probably do feel. I think, like this person, I think most of you will agree that it is something that we should not allow us to quit, or it's not a reason for us to quit. It's just a challenge that we have to overcome, and I think we can do that. It is something that we have to work on as we go, and we do have more challenges than some of our urban CoC counterparts. But anyway, I want to thank you for everyone out there for working on these things, and also thank you, Mary, for going over all of this. I kind of went off on a tangent there, so sorry, everyone. Are there any questions about the document that Mary has shown here, or further comments? Okay, I'm not seeing anything. So I am going to go ahead and make a motion for the Governance Committee to consider the LHC standards as presented for vote. And I'm going to make sure that all of the Governance Committee members can unmute themselves. In fact, I'm going to unmute you all so you can respond. Okay, I'm unmuting you as I go, so you are likely unmuted. So far, Carol and Christina, you are unmuted. And Jennifer is. Kelly. And Sandra, you are. And now finally, Tracy, you are. Okay, so I move that we vote to approve this unless there are any objections. So could one of you second that motion if you would like to?
I'll second. This is Christina.
Okay, so let's go ahead and take the vote. And I'm going to start with Jennifer, if she's still here, because she has to leave the meeting.
I am here and I vote yes.
Okay. And Tracy Sepulvedo has already typed in and voted yes. So Christina, since you're on, I'll ask you how you vote. Okay. I'm sorry, did you say yes, Christina?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And Carol? Carol maybe had to step away.
Oh, okay. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Can I ask a question before I vote?
Please, yes.
Okay. Is the coordinated access, is this actually a requirement of HUD or just something that's a good practice? I mean,
Well, it is a requirement of HUD for programs that are funded by HUD, and your programs would be two of those programs, the CoC funded programs.
Right.
We also think it's a good practice. So yes, it's yes to both, I guess.
Okay. So I'll vote yes. I'm just going to say we're going to have a really hard time doing it here.
It is.
With our 8 counties, I don't see how that can happen.
It's going to be difficult, but I think we can meet that challenge. So we'll work with you on that. Okay. I'm sorry. And Sandra has typed in. She said she voted yes, and I already said Tracy had as well. I think Kelly, you might be the last one. And how would you like to vote?
Yes.
Okay. So it's
Yes.
everyone votes yes. So this is approved, and we will make sure to place this on our website, and we will send it out to you. And again, thank you, Mary, for going over all of that. So we're next going to a discussion of the early planning draft for the CoC board member selection. And I have left the screen with Mary because she has that document as well. So Mary, are you able to show that document to us? Okay, there you go.
Yes, I just pulled it up. Can you see it?
I can't, but I hope everyone else can. And I would assume that they can.
Okay. So this is a very beginning draft of a process for board member selection, which is going to, the vote on board members is officially going to happen at our October 14th meeting. But in order to get to that point, a number of steps will need to be taken ahead of time. So we're presenting this draft selection process now, and then you all will have about a month to comment on it, and we're hoping that the governance committee can vote to approve it or not at the July 22nd board meeting. So again, just a beginning of the kinds of things that we're looking at in terms of board member selection process. This beginning part in blue is the official wording from the governance charter that you all approved in March. The board is the primary decision-making body. At that time, we were looking at the board consisting of 11 members with this composition, 1 currently or formerly homeless person, 5 representatives from that representative planning group, 1 additional representative from a large local homeless coalition, 1 from a medium LHC, and 2 from small LHCs, and finally 1 representative from the Texas Interagency Council for the Homeless. And then the assurance that the CoC will assure that any board member, chair, or persons acting on behalf of the board will comply with a code of conduct and with conflict of interest requirements and recusal processes. And the board members are elected by the full CoC membership at the full membership meeting held in the fall of each year. Terms will begin on October 1st and end September 30th, and board members will serve staggered terms of 2 years so that every year half of the positions will stand for election. So that is the current language in the governance charter. So what we're doing here with this policy and process document is to kind of flesh that out. And as we were doing that, Eric and I came up with a couple of different composition options for you all to consider, which would in fact require that the, well, I don't know if it'd be the governance committee or ultimately the board. No, it would have to be the governance committee because this is in order to get the board, would have to agree to a change in the charter. Because the first option we were looking at, as we were doing more research on other CoC's board composition, we felt like maybe the way that we had it outlined would not get us the diverse and broad range of experience that we want to make sure is on our CoC board. So you'll see that we still do have the 5 representatives from the representative planning group, and that's seats 1 through 5. However, seats 6 through 11, instead of being representatives of coalitions, they would be more representatives of stakeholder groups. So you'll see the at-large seat 1 would be a person with lived experience, also known as a person who's currently or formerly homeless. Seat 2, victim services. Seat 3, veterans. Seat 4, physical health or medical and behavioral or mental health. Seat 5 would be homeless children and youth. And seat 6, business or local government. So that's one option as a breakdown of the 11 board member seats. A second option that we've identified, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger, would be similar, but within the RPG representatives, seats 1 through 5, we would want to have each of those representing a subpopulation of the homeless population. Or first one would be a housing or shelter provider. The next 4 would represent a subpopulation. Seat 2 for victims, seat 3 homeless children and youth, seat 4 homeless veterans, seat 5 chronically homeless subpopulation. And then the other 6 seats would be some of those same kinds of groups, that we talked about above. Person with lived experience, a group representing, or a person representing supportive housing, a group representing health in all its forms, someone representing K-12 education and or employment, a seat for a local government representative, and a seat for a business representative. Again, trying to carry out what HUD is requiring in the CoC interim rule, that we have a really broad representation of members who are not only homeless services providers. Again, this is a draft we're presenting to you in its initial form, and we'll be taking comments over the next month or so you all can let us know what you're thinking at this point. We will also have a section for terms. Again, the blue letters are what's currently in the charter. We are proposing that in the 2015 elections, which will happen in October, that the odd-numbered seats will start 2-year terms. The even-numbered seats will start 1-year terms, and then that will, in effect, be the staggered terms that were approved in the charter, so that half of the positions will stand for election each year, not the entire board. In terms of selection process, of course, what's in the charter is that board members will be elected by the full membership at the full membership meeting in the fall. Again, this year it's October 14th. This is something we still have to work out. We had originally thought that 5 RPG members of the board for the upcoming year might be selected by the CoC board of the current year, but you'll see Eric's and my notes to each other there on the right. That may not work out according to the staggered term that we have above. So we'll have to look a little bit more into that. But some sort of official selection process we'll be adding to and getting out to you guys. We're also looking at having a board member job description. So if any of you all have a current local homeless coalition board member job description, or a board member job description for your agency, and you think it would be a great one to have, we'd love to see it. Nomination process is also going to be important. I know these are a little bit out of order because we have to have the nomination process before we have the selection process, but we'll add a few more details on nomination process that will basically include the process, a timeline, and a form. That nominees will complete the form and submit them by the due date. THN staff may verify nominations somehow, and then THN staff will prepare ballots for in-person voting and webinar poll questions for webinar voting. Because our idea is that at this October 14th meeting, whoever is at the conference and can attend in person, that would be great, but we want to make sure that people are able to also participate via webinar and call in and still be able to vote.
Yeah, it's.
All right.
I'll interject by saying that will be interesting to see how that works out, but we want to try to include everyone, and that's why we're handling it that way.
Yes, and then the next part is just a little bit more about that balloting, and that THN staff will facilitate that voting process. THN staff will tally the votes, and nominees receiving the most votes will be elected to the seats for which they were nominated. And then meeting schedules, Eric touched on this at the beginning of the meeting. If this new board member selection process takes place, then the meetings that everyone will be invited to attend are then going to be the representative planning group meetings. So kind of like the meetings we're having right now, that will be similar in format, and we'll stay on the 4th Wednesday of the month from 2 to 4. The CoC board, however, may be the meeting might or might not be open to everyone to participate, but the board members would be the only ones voting in those meetings. And we were proposing that they would meet the fourth Friday of the month so that they could hear from the representative planning group on that Wednesday with any kind of proposal or item for vote that the representative planning group will have sent forward to the CoC board. So again, kind of trying to reflect the fact that the representative planning group will be the one that will discuss items, that will accept ideas, and will present items to the CoC board for final approval. So trying to make sure that we're having a lot of the discussions and things being held with the representatives from the local homeless coalitions, because those groups are the bulk of our members that participate in CoC work. So again, just kind of a skeleton so far of what we're looking at and the categories of things that we'll be including in this description. We'll see how far we get over the next month. Certainly there's no requirement that we have to approve this in July, but I would love to get your input if you all are interested in working on this. And again, particularly if you have a board member job description that you'd like to share with us, or any very specific comments or cautions or suggestions or hesitations, anything at all about board member selection, because we know that anytime that a group is selecting kind of the final decision makers, we want to make sure that people feel comfortable that they had a voice in creating the process for selecting those folks. All right, any questions or comments right now?
The only question that has come in so far is from Andrea Wilson, and she asked when this document will be sent out. So I think we can probably send that out after this meeting, along with the other handouts.
Yes, we can absolutely do that. And then as like maybe in a couple of weeks, we'll see what feedback we've gotten so far, and we'll add our own fleshing out of some of this and maybe have an updated document within a couple of weeks so that you have time to really review it before we might take a vote, and so that you can comment on any of those changes that are made kind of mid-month.
And as we've done with some of the documentation we've created in the recent past, we'll try to ask you for your feedback in a survey format or some type of quick review format, just because we know your time is very limited and very valuable. So, but we will continue to send out the full document as well for your review. There has been another question that has come up, and this is from Michelle Yates. She asked, will the CoC board member be different from the chairpersons for the CAN? Okay. Michelle, you may have to define what you mean by CAN for us to answer that. If it's your local CAN, coordinated access, or if you're talking about coordinated access network or community assessment network, then people that are, okay, yes, she has clarified she means the coordinated access network, the local group. Folks that are on that can also be an RPG member and a board member, and or a board member too. So no, there's no limit to that.
Yeah, so Eric, I put the org chart back up. I know this is new and the names aren't all gelled in your head yet, but let me just kind of go through it here. The Coordinated Access Transition Team, it would be a committee of your a committee of your local homeless coalition. And then your local homeless coalition could have a representative to the local homeless coalition representatives planning group. And that, again, is going to be the group that does the bulk of discussion and weighing pros and cons and that sort of thing, who will then make recommendations to the CoC board for final approval. And this CoC board are the 11 members that will be elected every fall, well, half elected every fall, to, again, serve as that final decision-making authority. Again, however, we anticipate that most of what the CoC board votes on would be recommendations coming from the representatives planning group. So a little tricky to get all of those different groups figured out. And if there's a way that you have an idea for how we could diagram that out or describe it in a way that's easier to understand, certainly let us know that as well.
Okay, if anyone has any more questions about this or comments, please type them in or type in and ask me to unmute you. There has been nothing else that has come in, though. So, do you have anything else to add, Mary, before I change the screen?
No, I don't have anything else to add.
Well, thank you very much. So, we are on to next steps on the agenda, and we are starting to prepare for the July CoC board meeting. We may be talking about the 2015 CoC competition by then, if HUD releases it. I'm assuming we will have a little more information on that, so we will plan on talking about that. In addition to that, we hope to discuss a final draft of the CoC board member selection process and possibly take a vote on approving that. And then finally, we will likely have some information to pass on to you from the National Alliance to End Homelessness Conference, which will be held earlier in July, I think just a week earlier than our scheduled board meeting. But we will pass along any information that we think you might be interested in from that meeting at that time as well. I'm sure there will be other items that we will need to talk about, but we will put that on the agenda and send that out to you within a week of the meeting. If there are things that your community or you would like to see discussed during these meetings, please feel free to let us know. We are always open to suggestions, and we want to provide you with what you need, and we want this meeting to be helpful to you. So, are there any questions or comments? These meetings have been going pretty fast lately, so this one was just a little over an hour. If there are no questions or comments, I'm going to end this meeting officially. And thank you all for coming. So thank you all for attending, and I hope to see you at the next meeting we have. We will, like I said, send the notes and the handouts to you as soon as we can. Thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful day if you're ready to log off. I am going to stay on for a few more minutes, even though the meeting has officially ended, just in case someone wants to ask a question as they're preparing to leave.